thank you for watching. Federal Cabinet Minister Greg Rickford was defending the Conservative government's environmental record this week. The minister responsible for the Ring of Fire was in Thunder Bay to speak to regional politicians and business leaders. Protesters gathered outside, some calling for more environmental oversight on the proposed chromite development. Dennis Ward has more.
Those who rallied outside ahead of Cabinet Minister Greg Rickford's speech were calling on the federal government to change the environmental assessment process for the planned chromite mining project.
The area that has been staked out is twice the size of Prince Edward Island, and so the environmental impact is enormous, and it's in the world's third largest intact wetland ecosystem. And so mining is important for this region, and it's a really great opportunity, and we just want to make sure that it's done right.
Inside, after Rickford finished his speech that touched on the Ring of Fire, there were questions from the audience. A member of the Citizens United for a Sustainable Planet asked what confidence people should have there won't be a toxic legacy left by the project. The man who was earlier rallying outside then called out Cliffs, Rickford, and the Conservatives for having a troubling environmental record. Rickford says he disagreed on a number of fronts.
If you had been to Webequie First Nations and seen those people participating in the cultural mapping, an essential part of the environmental assessment process, you would not say that it has been eviscerated. You would say that there was a strong partnership in investment in important processes that respect the fragile nature of the Ring of Fire development.
The Matawa First Nations have filed a court injunction and are demanding a joint review panel rather than a comprehensive assessment. Cliffs officials say they're interested in working with First Nations directly.
Whether it's a review panel or a comprehensive study, that's really secondary. That's to be decided by the federal government and the courts. The decision for a comprehensive review was a federal decision. It wasn't Cliff's decision, and we're willing to work with whatever process is presented to us.
A decision on the judicial review is expected as early as next month. Dennis Ward, TVT News.
While in Thunder Bay, Rickford also made a funding announcement related to the Ring of Fire. This multi-million-dollar investment comes on the heels of a $6 million contribution from the federal government to train Aboriginal people. Rickford, who is also the Minister for FedNor, says the $4.4 million will support business development over the next 3 years. The Anishinaabe Development Fund will administer the program. Executive Director Brian Davey says the fund has a proven track record of providing loans to help businesses near the Victor Diamond Mine and Musselwhite Mine.
But now we have more than just the capital to provide loans. We have also the capital to look at facilitation to assist in their overall development, building that capacity to make sure that they win.
Rickford says the money will create opportunities where results can be measured over the next 3 years.
Having an opportunity, perhaps at a quarterly or every 6 months, say how many new jobs are created, what new businesses are there, what new strategic business unit has an existing business been able to develop, and is it focused on Ring of Fire.
Rickford believes the investment will create opportunities for infrastructure jobs and other business spin-offs. A group of local business people will get the chance to have their voices heard in Dryden as the city looks at ways to become more efficient. A service delivery and operational review will soon begin, mapping out which services will be offered in the future and to what extent. Jordan Milani has more.
With taxes raised by nearly 20% in the community over the past 2 years, a group of local business owners in Dryden want to be proactive as the city looks to move forward. Norm Bush represents the group that will sit at the table to provide input and expertise as the city struggles with reduced staffing levels. He says it's a crucial time in the community.
Many of their people are doing 2 or 3 jobs, wearing several hats. We felt that rather than just sit back, complain, and criticize, we do have expertise in Dryden in the business community and other people who have a lot of experience that we could lend a hand to the city during these times as they start filling out some of these key positions.
The city will soon begin the work to find efficiencies through all departments and will also be working with the respective boards for the Public Library, Dryden Development Corporation, and Dryden Police Service. Dryden Mayor Craig Nuttall says the city is willing to take input from anybody willing to provide it.
I'm open to talk to anyone, and I think councillors are. I've met with Wabigoon First Nations 3 times. And as far as I'm concerned, Dryden's open for business,
and we're open to have people come in and help us out in this difficult times.
Nuttall speaks highly of Bush, who represents the local business group, stating he played a key role in making the Domtar Mill a profitable operation. Bush says the group just wants to help get things set on the right path and views this as a positive step.
We're really not here as business people representing business interests. We're here because we're citizens, and citizens first and foremost. We love Dryden. We want Dryden to be successful, and we're not lobbying for a reduction in business taxes to the exclusion of other taxes. We're just here to offer our help with some of the expertise that the business community has.
With the 2014 budget process approaching, acting CAO Deborah Kincaid hopes to have the service review completed by mid-November. Jordan Milani, TBT News.
Members of the Gull Bay First Nation met Thursday night to hear details of the latest settlement offer from Ontario Power Generation. The Gull Bay Reserve has suffered extensive damage due to the building of dams between 1918 and 1950. Close to 180 band members met at the Valhalla Inn to discuss the latest OPG proposal. Back in 2010, an offer of $10 million was turned down by Chief Wilfred King on behalf of Gull Bay. King says the membership meeting went well and the new offer will go to a ratification vote as soon as next month. King won't comment on the amount of the settlement, but says there's been a definite increase in the amount.
Settlements, we're negotiating with Ontario and Canada now on the same process, so we're on the same grievance. So this is only one of three, and I am confident that the community will move ahead and put this behind us. And we had a very good, eloquent speak tonight by one of our elders that wanted to see closure to this as well.
King says the damage to the land was traumatic for his community, and any settlement funds will be put to good use for the members. A development that would connect Northern Ontario with the rest of the province could face opposition from Native groups if the Ontario Energy Board doesn't reconsider its recent announcement. Just last week, the OEB chose Upper Canada Transmission as the company to construct the $600 million east-west transmission line from Thunder Bay to Wawa. Officials with the Pick River First Nation are now disputing that decision, saying it's flat out wrong, ignoring the 6 First Nation communities along the route and their own proposal to develop the project. Byron Leclerc, Director of Energy Projects for Pick River, says the decision to move forward with the Florida-based company doesn't make sense.
Local involvement was ignored, Ontario involvement was ignored. I don't understand the reasoning behind the decision, and I think that that's what really precipitated the court challenge that Pick River is going to be advancing in light of this decision.
It's been like this for a long time. We've always took a second seat to any development. This one is not going to be, it's going to be different. We will be owners of that. Otherwise, we'll put the kibosh to it.
The community is now threatening legal action and injunctions to stop the project until the decision is reviewed or until the chosen company carries out their duty to consult and accommodate the impacted First Nations. Below average temperatures contributed to a below average fire season throughout the Northwest as the number of active fires continues to dwindle. The end of the forest fire season is in sight with less than 20 active fires remaining throughout the region. The season saw a significantly less total number of blazes, and the fire hazard continues to sit at a low to moderate. Red Lake Fire 31 registered as the largest in Ontario for 2013 and is currently labeled as under control. Fire Information Officer Heather Pridham explains.
It's one of those years. We had a couple nice weeks of really great weather, and then it would die off and we'd have a few days of rain, and that seemed to be our pattern this year. Across Canada, the weather patterns were pretty extreme with lots of flooding this year and not so much forest fires. So it was just one of those years, and next year will be a whole different ballgame.
With the black bear hunting season beginning this week, MNR officials are asking hunters to be aware that fire rangers may still be working in the area. Meanwhile, Ontario Public Service Employees Union says the MNR is cutting more than 100 jobs, including 23 in northwestern Ontario. Dryden and Thunder Bay are each losing 7 positions. Kenora will lose 3, while 2 positions each will be cut in Red Lake, Sioux Lookout, and Fort Frances. The affected employees given notice on Tuesday include administrative support staff, digital mapping and regulatory compliance staff, foresters, and biologists. However, the MNR says it is planning to hire people for 250 new jobs to fill new and vacant positions. Kenora-Rainy River MPP Sarah Campbell is now calling on the MNR to fully disclose its transformation plans to allow input from the public and industry. The future of the experimental lakes area remains up in the air. Details coming up next. Welcome back. Well, the province of Ontario has yet to reach an agreement with the federal government regarding the experimental lakes area near Kenora. The province has committed to cover the cost of operating the ELA, but time is running out. Ottawa recently cut funding to the 40-year-old facility. It was allowed to be reopened for a limited time while an agreement was worked out. Scientists across the world pay to use the station, and according to the Council of Canadians, the operation costs are between $200,000 and $400,000 per year. Kenora MP Greg Rickford, who was recently named the Federal Minister of Science, says he remains hopeful and positive that the process to transfer the ELA will be a success.
It's a better organization out there in a position, given its academic connections, its global characteristics, to continue on with that research. Over the past 8 or 9 months, we've been working closely with that organization, bound by a confidentiality agreement, but supporting it with business plan development, and various strategic things that the IISD felt were necessary in order for them to transfer.
Rickford says it now rests in the province's hands and adds he's confident the government will live up to the fact they're holders of the land, that the research is taking place, and there will be a smooth transition moving forward. 9 years after their proposed truck stop sparked a rash of opposition, Flying J officials have announced a new plan to set up shop in the Thunder Bay area. The company says it's abandoning its plans for a travel plaza at the corner of Oliver Road and the Thunder Bay Expressway. Instead, the Pass Lake truck stop is being converted into a Shell Flying J franchise. Jonathan Wilson reports.
It's opening up again, and that is a good news story for Shunya.
Shunya Reeve Maria Harding says she's excited to end the speculation and confirm that the Pass Lake truck stop, which has been closed for the past 2 years, will be reopening under a new name.
It has come to the municipality's attention that the Pass Lake truck stop will be reopening probably before Christmas. The owner is not quite sure yet if everything will be in order by that time. It has also come to our attention that the truck stop will be officially known as the Shell Flying J.
The name Flying J has been synonymous with controversy in Thunder Bay since the U.S.-based company first announced plans in 2004 to build a travel plaza at the corner of Oliver Road and the Expressway. City Council approved the $7 million project unanimously, but neighbors fought the development for years before finally reaching a compromise in 2007. In 2008, Flying J went into bankruptcy protection in the U.S. and then merged with Pilot Travel Centers. The company has hinted several times that it would soon move ahead with construction. But now, Pilot Flying J spokesperson Sharon Donnell says they are no longer planning to build at that location. And she confirms that the owner of the Pass Lake truck stop, Ron Parcher, is rebuilding that facility into a Shell Flying J.
And it will be operated by the owner of the property. It will be an independent operator. And it's a good news story for Shunya. It's a good news story for the traveling public. And a good news story for the people who are looking for work in our area.
The company has over 500 locations across North America, with the nearest ones being in Kapuskasing to the east and Winnipeg to the west. Parcher had previously secured a special permit to allow his truck stop to access the new 4-lane highway being built between Thunder Bay and Nipigon. It will be the only gas bar located along that 110-kilometer route.
I think we have missed the truck stop for the last couple of years. I think it's appropriate that it is being reopened, especially with the new highway going through.
There's no word yet on what Pilot Flying J plans to do with this 20-acre property on Oliver Road, which they purchased for $1.3 million. The neighbors who oppose the development tooth and nail say they're pleasantly surprised by the change of plans. They say Pass Lake is a perfect place for a truck stop, and they wonder why Flying J didn't just locate there in the first place. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Mayor Keith Hobbs met with representatives from the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities initiative this week. Hobbs was voted in as chair of the organization back in June. He met with Executive Director David Ulrich to discuss issues facing Great Lakes communities, which includes the storage of nuclear waste. Currently, a joint review panel is looking at an Ontario power generation proposal to store low and intermediate level nuclear waste near the shores of Lake Huron. Ulrich says the site is near Kincardine, Ontario, and is just 1 kilometer from the edge of the lake. On Tuesday, the Great Lakes Initiative submitted their opposition to the proposal. They're worried about the proximity of the location to the lake, but the biggest concern is the precedent that will set if nuclear waste is allowed to be stored so close to the source of drinking water for 40 million people.
One of the basketball coaches in the United States would say, don't play with your car keys over the manhole covers. And this is putting that much waste that close to the largest source of surface fresh water in the world and the drinking water for people. Just has some very common sense and good judgment concerns that are raised.
I know Thunder Bay has been declared a nuclear-free zone, but if people realized just the hospital alone, nuclear medicine, and you know, everything that goes east and west through Thunder Bay, rail, by truck, people would be alarmed, I think, and you know, that's something that we need to get a handle on as well. But I think there's a lot more suitable places to put that waste.
Hobbs acknowledged that Ignace's repository for high-level waste is a much better location. In addition, Ulrich and Hobbs also discussed the concerns about water levels across the Great Lakes, as well as growing the organization. There's a backlog of court cases in the Rainy River District. It all comes down to one reason: there's no resident judge to sit in on the proceedings. After losing their judge this past year, the district has been forced to bring in judges on a rotating basis. Jordan Milani explains.
The statistics may not be there to support it, but the lack of an area judge in the Rainy River District is taking its toll. Legal delays and roadblocks are often the result of scheduling issues when dealing with a traveling justice, and it's now become a problem for a local women's shelter who are finally coming out of hiding to tell their story. The boulevard in front of the shelter, deemed the Women's Shelter of Hope, is lined with trees dedicated to victims of abuse that weren't able to find help in time and eventually lost their lives in tragedy. Donna Crookmo is the executive director of the shelter that takes in women who are experiencing abuse or who simply fear for their own lives and the lives of their children. They offer a 10-bed shelter as well as 10 apartment units for transitional living to help get these women out on their own, but without a sitting judge in the district, their stay at the shelter is often prolonged and nerve-wracking.
It absolutely increases their anxiety and their trauma. They're suffering trauma because they're told by the schools, they're told by us that they should access interim custody. So they've got that pressure because then they're waiting for up to 3 months for a court date. We have a woman currently in our shelter who's been with us for 6 months trying to work out those details for interim custody of her child.
Atikokan Mayor Dennis Brown says the Rainy River District is likely the only region in Ontario without their own sitting judge, and that is based purely on the amount of work that is available.
If we had a full-time job, full-time judge for the Rainy River District, they would only be working 40% of the time in the Rainier district. The other 60% of the time they would have to travel outside to Kenora districts or the Thunder Bay districts or somewhere else. So the work isn't there. So I can understand it from a statistical point of view. Maybe it doesn't, add up.
Crookmo says their ability to get restraining orders and peace bonds are also hamstrung by the lack of an area judge. Even getting a legal aid lawyer or someone with a background in family law can be a struggle due to the difficulties with scheduling.
That puts a woman at a disadvantage, and usually if he controls the finances or he works, he can get a family law lawyer right away because he's, paying the regular rate as opposed to having to access legal aid. But that's one huge issue we're having, and we think a lot of the lawyers are reluctant to practice where there's no judge because you are hampered by waiting for a court date.
Crookmo adds that the shelter was forced to incur nearly $7,000 in 2012 for travel costs, bringing women to and from court hearings with a budget that doesn't fluctuate. She says the implementation of a justice travel grant could help ease the burden, but so would a full-time judge. Jordan Milani, TBT News.
Well, the town of Red Rock was rocking last weekend. We'll explain after the break. Well, the town of Red Rock hosted its Live from the Rock Folk Festival this past weekend. With a lineup of over 20 performers over 3 days, there was something for every music lover to enjoy, and Tara Allaire was there.
Thousands flocked to Red Rock's Marina for the 11th installment of the Live from the Rock Folk Festival. Held on the shore of Lake Superior, the festival featured everything from jazz to blues to country to folk music on 4 stages. Renee Lamoureux is one half of the country pop duo Keith and Renee. The Winnipeg-based band have been together for 16 years and play festivals throughout the country. It was their 4th appearance at the festival, their last being in 2006. Lamoureux says it was great to be back in Red Rock.
If anything, it's bringing back a lot of good memories. So yeah, the vibe here is always so relaxed, and it's a great place to just get away. And yeah, coming back here, I'm just remembering all of those good times. So it's pretty great. It's nice, it's family oriented, and you can really hear the music and, you know, people telling stories, and I think that's really important, and that's what you get out of coming here for sure.
Jennifer Ives took over as this year's artistic director and put together a fantastic lineup of artists. She says the help of dedicated volunteers and the community have made the festival a success for the past 11 years.
One of the performers last night said, you know, Red Rock and the people at this festival are incredible. People come up to us and say that they loved our show, that they're so happy we came, that is there anything they can do? Always thinking about how to make it better for everybody. And that's, for me, that's what's magical about it, is that it's a community, not just an event.
The festival included an artisans market, camping, Voyageur canoe excursions, and children's programming. Ives says there's something special about the town of Red Rock that keeps people coming back.
The festival itself is almost an extension because the community here, they care so much about each other. There have been a lot of bumps in the road in this town, and the fact that it's still here and, you know, has beautiful parks and gardens and this facility and that they're open their hearts up to complete strangers. You know, I think it's just a magic.
Tara Allaire, TBT News.
Thank you for watching this edition of Northwest Newsweek. We'll see you again next time.